Well, the Go for Broke Foundation and the whole concept is very important to me in how I live my life and how I raise my children to live their life. And also to honor what's come before you is a basic principle of life. To see what's come before you and the pillars that you stand on, the pillars of the past are definitely the towers of the future. They build the towers of the future. There's no way you can have any real destination without knowing where you came from. Then you're bewildered. Then you're just lost. Then you're a wanderer. And not all that wanderers are lost, but in this instance we are, because if we don't know the history, then we are doomed to repeat it. And what's happened in our past, as a human society, we have to go past some of these atrocities. And this was definitely an atrocity. It happened so fast, and everybody was applauding this happening to other people. This is other humans that they feel just like you. They have families just like you. They love just like you. They have aspirations just like you. And we were so mind washed, brainwashed to think that this was a good thing, and it wasn't. And now, hindsight's 2020, obviously, but our country and our world has said this was an atrocity. This was a bad thing that happened. This was a bad thing. This was not a heroic moment for us. I want my music to transcend being an American artist, and to be a world artist and a thought leader as well, and spark people to enjoy their life and to re-examine themselves and to reanalyze themselves and to understand that they have power within them, that we all can fly. We are all spirits that somehow have this physical experience.
A lot of young people look up to you, they hear your name, and they know what you do. And with that in mind, I feel like there's a responsibility. For you, when you take on that responsibility, what are the messages you want to send to young people out there, both male and female, when it comes to holding onto that responsibility as being an artist?
I think as an artist, there are two things that artists must do. Artists must find a way to disturb the comfortable and to comfort the disturbed. And art must do that in any form that it takes, in sonically, visually, any kind of performance art. It must do those things, and you have to understand at any given time you can be one of the two. You can be the comfortable or you can be the disturbed at any given time, because power is not permanent. And I think that I want to have timeless music that lasts, and somebody's always going to meet a point in their life they're going to need one of my songs. I feel like that's going to delineate a moment in time. And I love to work with artists. Like today, my performance, I brought artists in that are new and emerging artists, and I want them to just get a taste of this responsibility, because it's a heavy burden if you don't take it seriously. Other than that, it's a burden, but it's a light burden though. To give and to help and to cultivate people, it's amazing when you go to schools and you see a kid and you say, well, yeah, when I was 13, you told me to not argue with my mother. Now I'm 19 now and I got myself together. It's amazing.
But let's end on a note of service. It's Memorial Day weekend and it's about service. And you don't necessarily have to be in the armed forces to serve. So with that in mind, message to young folks out there, or anybody in particular, how would you want to see people service their community and their environment and the world?
That's a very poignant question. First of all, Memorial Day is the only African American holiday in the United States of America. When the veterans of the Civil War, African Americans, went back a year later and buried men that were in these mass graves or just heaped on top of each other. And they went and they took the arduous task of burying these men properly. And those were African Americans that did this with no bitter feelings about the war, went in and did this. And that's an amazing thing. And that's a form of service. The war was over, but they were still serving. And I think that it is our job to do as much positive and good for ourselves with the least amount of harm to someone else. And that's how we serve. And if you can get that in your mind, it'll become a lifestyle, and you'll find reasons and ways to do good for people in everything you do. It won't be, well, I go to church and do this, or I go to this organization and do that. It'll be everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, it'll be ingrained and interwoven into your existence.
Yusef, thank you so much for being here. And before we end, social media, how do people follow you and maintain and be a fan with you?
I think the best way, I'm going to play a flute and have everybody just follow me to places. That's what I'm going to do. No. Malik Yusef, MalikYusef on Twitter, And on Facebook, again, that's Malik Yusef, MalikYusef. And on Instagram, it's Malik Yusef 100.